I really struggled with making my faith my own. I grew up in the church. I actually grew up at Manchaca with my family and my sisters. We grew up in the children's ministry. We grew up in the youth group. Came back after college. I got saved at a young age through the children's ministry. Got baptized, and really the church was my home. Most of my friends were from church, from youth group. Even my closest friends today in adulthood have stemmed from the church and from the youth group. And I truly believe that even just from the beginning of God placing us at Manchaca, that God was already working in our lives. Growing up, our family encountered different trials, different challenges, and through it all, statistically speaking, my sisters and I shouldn't be where we're at. But because of the foundation that we were brought up in the church, like God saw us through that. After I graduated college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Being a young adult is an extremely pivotal time in one's life, just because you go from high school to college and then you're just thrown into the real world. You don't really know what you're supposed to do in life. And so what ended up happening is after I graduated, I accepted an internship through the North American Mission Board to work with a church plant in Tacoma, Washington. And that was one of the best summers and hardest summers that I ever encountered through just internship with this church plant. We were in inner city Tacoma, Washington, which is very low income. We got to hang out with people in the community. We really brought the church to the people. On Sunday mornings, we met in a cafeteria of a middle school. And that was it. Outside of that, everything else was done in the community. We got to work with this homeless shelter that helped people get reestablished back into the community. It had shelter for women and children. It had classes that helped you form skills to make sure that you could be successful back out in the community. They helped you find jobs. And so we really just got to live life with people. But during my time there, I really struggled with making my faith my own. I had grown up in the church. I knew the Lord. I knew the Bible. But I wouldn't say that my relationship with God was where it needed to be. It wasn't my own. And it took God removing me from my comfort zone, moving me across the country to truly make my faith. And it was such a struggle to really go down to like the bare bones of what does it mean to be a Christian? What does it mean to believe in God? What does that look like? What is a relationship with Christ look like? And through that summer, I really found my faith to be my own. I didn't have anyone to fall back on. I didn't have anyone to like, oh, well, they believe this, so this is what I believe. And so when the internship ended, I was in a really good place with the Lord. It was really hard, but I felt really confident in my faith. And I thought I was going to stay in Washington forever. And then God shut that door and I had to go back home. And so here I am, a 22-year-old college graduate living back at home. Didn't have a job, didn't know what I was going to do, thought God was clearly calling me to go to Tacoma, but he wasn't. And then I was back home and I was angry. I was like, God, what am I doing here? But what I didn't know is that God was working, even when I couldn't see it, even when I couldn't feel it, even when I was frustrated waiting on God to tell me what direction to go in my life, He was still working. I ended up coming back to Manchaca because it was right down the road. I didn't have any other church to go to, so I came back to Manchaca and I helped start a young adult ministry here. We still had a lot of friends that were still in the area, and there wasn't really anything for us, so a group of us just got together and said, hey, let's meet once a week at somebody's house. Let's hang out. Let's do life together. Let's just see where this goes. And it ended up forming some of my closest friendships into adulthood. And God was working. So in my resistance to come back to Texas, in my resistance and frustration of being back at home, God was working. And in that, I was dating my now husband, Jacob, and I left Manchaca to go be a part of the ministry that he was doing at the church in Elgin. And so what I didn't realize is that the work that God was doing through this young adult ministry was preparing me to be the spouse of someone in ministry. And being on that church was a little hard. Jacob and I were the youngest people. There wasn't a whole lot of community our age, and so finding that community was really hard. So you go from being immersed in this group of people and community that you're doing life with and you're seeing weekly, you're going to church with them, to going to church in a different town. And once again, not really having that community where you're being, where you're outreaching to. But through that ministry, we were able to form really strong relationships with different generations. And I learned the value of having a multi-generational church and how important it is to learn from people. And so through all of that, God was still working and still had his hand in things, even when I was like, God, I am so desperate for a community. I'm so desperate for friendships in the community that we're serving. And he provided that in a way that I didn't even realize that I needed. So through our time at Cedar Valley, we got married. We got married during COVID, which again was amazing and such a blessing in disguise, and God was working, and we didn't even realize it. And then shortly after we got married, I lost my mom. I lost my mom to cancer, and my husband, Jacob, was able to walk through that with me and my family because he had encountered it himself. And so little did I know that 6 years prior to where we started dating, right when I came back from college, that God had a plan to place Jacob in my life, to be there to support me in a way that nobody else could. He was able to love and support my sisters and my family in such a unique way. And that was God having his hand in it. So whether you are in the depths of despair, or you are on a mountaintop and things are going well, or you are just simply waiting for God to tell you what to do next, and you are in a season of waiting for what's next, you can trust and know that God is working and God has a plan, and he will show up in ways that you need, that you may not even know that you need. And time again, God will continue to do that in every season of your life, through every trial, every amazing thing, through every waiting period, through every question, through every doubt, that God is faithful and he has a plan, and he will be faithful in that plan, and you can trust him. My name is Amanda, and this is my story with God.